Films are made up of sequences. Sequences are made up of scenes. And scenes are made up of shots. In our last episode, we discussed the types of camera rigs used to move the camera. But in this episode, we'll be going over what those movements are and the stories they tell. This is episode 6 of The Shot List. Camera movement. There are countless variations of camera movement, each with their own language and purpose. A filmmaker who understands this language can create dynamic and compelling work. We'll be examining different types of camera movements. Along the way, we'll be updating a shot list of these camera movements in a Studio Binder shot list, which you can download and reference in your upcoming projects. Now, let's get moving. Let's begin with the shot that has no camera movement at all. This is the static shot. Static shots are commonly captured by locking the camera to a tripod in a fixed position. The result is a shot with zero camera movement. This is great for dialogue.
What business is it of yours? Where I'm from? Friendo.
Precise painterly compositions.
Redmond, nice to see you.
Or shots that allow an actor's performance to shine.
Funny how? I mean, funny like I'm a clown, I amuse you?
To our next camera movement. The pan. A pan rotates the camera horizontally, left or right, while remaining in a fixed location. Pans can be used to follow a character's actions, or be used to reveal information, which is something Wes Anderson does frequently.
Four minutes, 48 seconds. We're all dead. Burned to a crisp.
Moving on. A slow pan builds anticipation, while a rapid pan heightens the energy of a shot. These are known as whip pans. Director Damien Chazelle uses whip pans to create relationships between characters. In La La Land, he amps up the energy in the scene, while underscoring the growing synergy between Sebastian and Mia. He uses the same technique for a different effect in Whiplash, no pun intended. In the final scene, whip pans are precisely timed with the give and take of the music. Accenting the combative relationship between Andrew and Fletcher. Panning is ideal for horizontal movement. But what about the vertical axis? The tilt. A tilt directs the camera upward or downward. Filmmakers use tilts to capture the verticality of a film's world. This can be used to give a character dominance. Similar to a pan, a tilt can reveal information, like a character, setting, or scale.
Who are the people?
Projections of my subconscious.
Yours?
Yes.
In Inception, Ariadne tests how much of the dream world she can distort.
My question is, what happens when you start messing with the physics of it all?
Nolan tilts up to capture the awe and scale of this spectacular moment. The visceral effect of being on the street, looking upward at such a spectacle, is accentuated with a simple camera tilt.
Something, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Switching our attention from upward or downward, our next camera movement takes us inward. Push in. The push-in shot moves the camera towards a subject. Pushing the camera is all about emphasizing a moment.
Get our informers to find out where it's going to be held.
A visual cue to the audience that this is important.
Public place, a bar, a restaurant, some place where there's people so I feel safe.
You can push in on an external detail such as an object or text. In doing so, filmmakers can direct our attention to a specific detail. Can capture a character's thought process. Like in this moment from The Post, when Ben comes to terms with exposing the infamous Pentagon Papers. A push-in is an effective way to communicate internal conflict, like in the iconic restaurant scene in The Godfather, which leads us to our next camera movement. The opposite of the push-in is the pull-out. Unlike pushing in, pulling the camera de-emphasizes the subject, a sort of signal to disconnect from the characters. It can unveil the context of a scene, its setting, or its characters. As subjects grow smaller, a pull-out can detach us from a scene, or the entire film. Like in the final shot from Catch Me If You Can. The same movement can also emphasize negative emotions like isolation or abandonment. In this scene from Joker, we see Arthur at his most vulnerable. This camera movement away from him highlights his helplessness. And rather than push in to help us sympathize with Arthur, director Todd Phillips pulls away, abandoning him. Our next movement directs our attention without moving the camera at all. Enter the zoom. A zoom may not be a camera movement per se, but there is movement created in camera. Zoom shots change the focal length of a camera's lens to zoom in or zoom out. Similar to pulling back a camera, zooming out can reveal the context around a subject, like this opening shot from The Graduate. Zooms are unique because there is no equivalent in the human experience. Like a push-in, we can physically move closer to a subject, but our eyes can't zoom. It can also draw our attention to a specific detail. Many horror or thriller films use a slow zoom to create uneasiness. This iconic shot from The Shining slowly zooms in to highlight Jack's descent into madness. The use of a zoom doesn't stop there. A fast zoom is known as a crash zoom. Crash zooms can often be used for either dramatic
Whoa, 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 whoa!
In Django Unchained, Quentin Tarantino uses the crash zoom repeatedly. For comedy,
This seems like a good bit of fun.
now what happens when you pair the in-camera movement of a zoom with physical movements of a camera? It's none other than the Dolly Zoom. A Dolly Zoom utilizes both a dolly movement and lens zoom to create something called the vertigo effect. named after its dramatic use in Hitchcock's Vertigo. A dolly zoom can be done two different ways. The first is by dollying in while zooming out. This causes the background to grow in size while maintaining the scale of the foreground. This is commonly used to portray conflict in a shot, either internal.
It broke my heart to put that tumor in her head.
What?
Or external conflict. The second way is by dollying out while zooming in. In Bohemian Rhapsody, the dolly zoom draws the audience closer to Freddie as a way to create intimacy between one musician and his adoring fans. D.P. Newton Thomas Siegel explains why they chose to use the dolly zoom for this shot.
The camera continues to come around him, and we're still in this wide lens. So as we come around, you can see that the audience is very far from him. But now he's beginning to come into his own, the audience is coming into it, and by using the dolly zoom, we're bringing the audience closer and closer and closer. Freddie's not getting any bigger in the frame, but the audience is getting closer simply by changing the focal length of the lens and the proximity of the camera to the subject.
A dolly zoom can be a versatile choice in any shot list to convey either positive or negative psychological effects. Our next camera movement is a rotation known as the camera roll. A roll turns the camera on its long axis while maintaining the direction of the lens. A camera roll is disorienting, unsettling our equilibrium. In moments of panic, camera rolls can be disconcerting, like when a villain assumes the throne. They can also be used to visually reinforce theme, like in this moment from The Dark Knight.
You just couldn't let me go, could you? This is what happens when an unstoppable force meets an immovable object.
The Joker is captured, strung upside down and defenseless. But as the camera slowly rolls over, he reveals that he still has the upper hand. This reversal of power is matched with a simple yet meaningful camera roll. With great effect, a camera roll can accent movement or dramatic shifts in the narrative. Let's move on to our next camera movement, the tracking shot. A tracking shot physically moves the camera through a scene, typically following a subject. Tracking shots differ from push-ins or pull-outs because they move with a subject. The subjects are on the move, and the camera tracks with them, wherever they go. When done purposefully, they generate two questions. Where is this character going? And what will happen when they get there? This is perfect for long takes that are meant to immerse the audience directly into a scene. Tracking shots can also be used to build tension. Gus Van Sant's Elephant is filled with extensive tracking shots. The smooth Steadicam shots accent the seemingly endless corridors, so a tracking shot either follows or leads a subject. But when the camera moves laterally, left or right, it is referred to as a trucking shot.
Roosevelt, how's that lanyard coming?
Horrible.
Tracking shots can be engaging by following the actions of a character. Arc shot. The arc shot is a camera movement that orbits around a subject. This orbit is typically a horizontal arc, but it can also be vertical. Arc shots add dynamic movement when characters may be standing completely still. Like in this hero shot from the Avengers, which unifies them as a single unit against surrounding threats. Centralized on the subject for moments of intimacy, panic, or heroism. And what about this shot from The Dark Knight? What kind of effect does the arc shot create?
As soon as your office got involved...
My office? You're sitting down there with scum like Wirtz and Ramirez?
The arc shot underscores the tension and reeling panic between Gordon and Dent.
Don't try and cloud the fact that clearly Maroni's got people in your office, Dent.
And the tension only comes to a stop once our hero poses a solution.
Under any circumstances.
If I get him to you, can you get him to talk?
I'll get him to sing.
When the speed of an arc shot is amplified, it can create a dizzying effect. Now that we've analyzed how to move a camera left, right, in, out, let's take a look at how we move the camera vertically with the boom shot. A boom shot moves a camera up or down, utilizing a crane, jib, or pedestal. Small boom movements are commonly used to reveal information, while large boom movements can be used to follow characters in action or to capture the world surrounding them.
Boy! Quickly! Move it out! Move it out, Pyle! Move it out!
In this scene from Full Metal Jacket, Stanley Kubrick uses a boom shot to follow Private Pyle up an obstacle while Sergeant Hartman berates him.
Private Pyle! Whatever you do, don't fall down!
The reveal of Hartman at the top has a comedic effect, but the real purpose of the shot is to reinforce Pyle's mental state.
Get up and over! Move it! Move it! Move it! Are you quitting on me? Well, are you? Then quit!
In a single take, Kubrick booms up to follow Pyle's hopeful attempt, and booms down for his inevitable defeat.
Now! Move it!
Most camera movements are highly precise, controlled. But sometimes filmmakers want to produce movement without control, which brings us to our final camera movement: random movement. Random camera movement is defined by camera shake, incidental zooms, or any movement that happens on the fly. Camera shake is often added subtly to create a subjective experience for a more intimate effect. Arbitrary zooms and random camera movement can be used stylistically to create a documentary look.
Institutions treat these CDOs like they're as solid as treasury bonds and they're going to zero.
No, it can't be right.
Which is a technique that Adam McKay uses in The Big Short.
You're managing a fund of, what, 555 million?
I don't know how to be funny. I don't know how to work people. I just know how to read numbers.
And Succession.
Have you thought about the possibility that your children are actually scared of you?
Random movement gives the impression that events are happening in real time, when nothing is planned and anything can happen. Now that we've covered all of the camera movements that filmmakers have at their disposal, let's take a look at how multiple camera movements can be combined in a single scene. In this scene from Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker, director J.J. Abrams uses a variety of camera movements to keep the scene thrilling and engaging. We've attempted to pinpoint each movement. Watch the scene closely and see if you can spot every type of camera movement. So, did you identify all of the different camera movements? Planning out a scene with various types of camera movements can be daunting, but using shot listing tools like Studio Binder makes it a straightforward process. While there are countless examples of camera movement in film, remember that the best uses are always intentional. In the next episode of the Shot List, we'll explore camera lenses and how choosing the right lens is essential for executing the perfect shot.